Welcome back to Robin's Roundup with me, Jake Matho, Sean Fisher and Tom Langford, where we are finally able to present to you our very own end of season awards. Our first award that we'd like to present to you is the Goal of the Season award. Right, this award has been already exposed on Twitter through an online vote, and Sam Sheridan duly won that through his goal against Morpeth. However, the three of us have all written down our three favourite goals. Maybe that'll be included, maybe it won't, but we don't know yet, so we're going to have a discussion and then we'll move on to the next award. So, Tom, take it away. What are your three Goal of the Season contenders?
So my three that I've got, the first one that I've got down is obviously Sam Sheridan's against Morpeth.
Yeah.
And denying that one. Second, Louis Ullman's against Morpeth as well. Mm-hmm. He curls it in the top corner. And finally, gone for a little bit of an odd one here. Stephen Thames against Tadcaster. It's the counter-attack one, you know, the one that was the first one on the Goal of the Season, where it goes from one end to the other. It's a lovely move. Just something different, isn't it, from like just a long-range effort. It's a nice move. So
fair enough. Sean?
So similarly, I went for the Sheridan goal against Morpeth. I think it's hard to leave that one out. Obviously, it won the award for a reason. Secondly, one of my favourite goals, obviously we were all there, is the Cass goal against Spennymoor. That first touch and then he thinks it over. Really nice goal. And then just an honourable funny mention, Chris Rowney against Hyde, where he blocks the keeper and it bounces in. Loved it.
Of course, you've gone for Chris Rowney.
Rowney.
I wouldn't be surprised if you say that's your winner.
Who knows?
Yeah, for me, I've gone very similar with Tom. I've gone for Louis Ullman and Sam Sheridan, both their goals against Morpeth. However, my difference is the one I voted for, actually, which I think I was the only vote, to be honest. Yeah. But Josh Wilson against Scarborough. Potentially it lost its votes because of the camera work, but we won't go into that.
Camera work was well shot.
But yeah, so they're my three. Tom, do you have a winner?
No, not really. I didn't vote for Sam Sheridan's, even though it won. Mm-hmm. I voted for Louis Ullman's. Just because, when we were there at the game, it kind of looked like it deflected.
Yeah.
And quite a few fans thought that as well. It wasn't until I was watching the footage back on the bus that you realised how fantastic a goal it was. Mm-hmm. The curl, the bend that he gets on it. I had to go and show a few fans at the front of the bus as well, just be like, yeah, he did mean it. Yeah. It wasn't like a fluky deflection. He meant to curl it in. So that was my favourite goal. I think it kind of rounded off a performance as well. Mm-hmm. I think I was talking to Jonathan about the Goal of the Seasons as well, and he said he was surprised that Cassian Angels, like Sean's voted for, didn't get a higher amount of the votes. Yeah. But I feel potentially the result tainted that goal a little bit.
Definitely,
took a little bit away from its credibility for me.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my Josh Wilson goal for my favourite one. Louis Ullman's, you are correct, was a phenomenal goal, but I think I can completely understand why Sam Sheridan won on the vote. Yeah. Sean, have you got a favourite one you've seen live?
Probably the Cass goal, just because even though the actual result tainted it, at that point it gave us so much hope, and the ground was just absolutely buzzing when that went in, and it was just a quality goal.
Fair enough. Thanks, lads. Moving on to our second award, which is the Player of the Season award. Of course, the official Player of the Season hasn't yet been announced. However, we have watched the majority of the games. Tom has seen all but maybe one of them, I think. Okay, well,
I'm not as
good. Still impressive.
But we all have a good idea of who we would put forward to be our Player of the Season. Once again, we've got three nominees. This time we'll start with you, Sean. Who are your three nominees for Player of the Season?
So I went for Josh Wilson, captain. Yep. I think he's fitted in anywhere he's been asked to. He's played centre back, attacking midfield, striker, and he's obviously top scorer, reliable when we depended on him, and I think he's been quality. So he's my first. I then went for Greg Hartley. I know we all love him. I know he hasn't been here long, but I think what a signing he has been, and some of the performances he's put in has won us some valuable points. And then finally, I went for John Lafudu, bombing down that wing as always. I know he had, towards the end of the season, missed a couple of games, But the consistency throughout, he's been such a good attacking outlet, and he's been involved in a lot. And I think he's been really good.
Tom?
Okay, so similarly to Sean, I went for Josh Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like Sean said, slotted in everywhere, top goal scorer for us as well.
Yeah.
Also went for John Lafudu. I think he's been a fantastic addition since he joined us from Tadcaster. It really showed how much we were dependent on him when he got suspended.
Yeah.
And for my final nomination, I went for Chris Rowney.
Right,
Didn't know this till I had a look, but made the most appearances for the club this season.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, and he's just been an ever-present that I feel people kind of don't value sometimes, the work that he does do in that midfield.
Yeah.
So he's my third nomination.
Very nice. I have also followed the route of Josh Wilson, so I feel like we're slowly edging towards our winner. Yeah. He has been Mr. Consistent when we've needed him. He's also very reliable from the spot, where a lot of his goals have come from, and you could criticise that or not, but he could have missed the goals. So he scored the penalties, which is all that matters. Top scorer, and he has put us in the position we are, which could have been a whole lot worse without him. Greg Hartley, like Sean said, he hasn't been here long, but he has made one hell of a difference. And I think it's one of those things where, as much as it isn't the start of the season in January, our season properly started in January when he signed, because the results finally came in. Finally, I've gone for not so much a controversial one, but a different one to both of you. I went for Jono Hunt because I didn't realise he had signed this season, because, of course, I've only just started working the season. And I look at him, watch him on the pitch, see him in every game in, game out, and I think of him as someone that knows the players from years ago. But he's so vocal. He's a leader. Of course, he was captain at the start, and then it's been switched over. But I wouldn't even be surprised if he got captaincy back again one day, because he's such a leader on the pitch, and you can tell that he has experience in that department. So I feel like, as much as he's been there from the season start, where it wasn't great, I think he's been a consistent performer throughout, and if anything, he's improved under Clegg. However, to finalise this award, I feel like we're all pretty content.
There was one name in all three, wasn't
there? There was one
name,
yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Captain, yeah.
Yeah.
So Josh Wilson is our official player of the season. Our official player of the season, just to point out.
He'll be buzzing with that. Oh.
Anyway, thank you very much for your nominations and for your award. Moving on to before we move on to our third, we want to just point out something that we've been doing throughout the season, which was the Tom Langford Man of the Match Award. Tom, do you want to explain it?
So it's an award that me and Matt give out. Well, I say Matt, it's more me that gives it out on commentary after every performance. And, I have to pick one player who I think's been the standout of that game. And at the end of the season, we were going to give a trophy out, but obviously that's been hampered. So it's getting announced over here. I imagine all the players are eager in anticipation to hear this.
They're also watching together.
It's a big award. When you sign for Ashton, this is the award you want to go for.
Sean, have you got any...
titles.
Oh, sorry, mate. Have you got any ideas,
right.
Sean, who it might be?
The whole season?
Mm-hmm. Give us a couple if you can't choose.
Well, I think Josh Wilson's come up with some vital penalties that might sway his decision. Obviously, I know he's given a lot to... You've only given 2 or 3 to Greg towards the end of the season, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
I imagine Louis Ullman's won quite a few. I'm going to go Josh Wilson.
See, I would say Greg Hartley even. However, I feel like he might be flawed by the fact that he only joined in January. So I'm starting to think that maybe it was someone that was performing before the Clegg Revolution, as we like to call it. Tom, take us out of misery. Who have you finalised as the Tom Langford Man of the Match Award winner?
None of you were right.
Brilliant.
The player that actually won it was Nicky Clee with 5 votes. I feel he won this award because of how bad we kind of were earlier in the season. He was kind of the only shining light that we had in a lot of games. He was, I think me and Matt called him, it was like Mr. Consistent or something like that, because literally how reliable he was week in, week out. I feel Greg Hartley maybe should have been up there for it. I think he won 3 in the end, so he wasn't too far behind. I just feel because we started winning games as well, you had quite a lot of people at the end of the season that we were kind of looking at picking, thinking, I've got 4 or 5 names here, and Greg, he did make vital saves, but other people had bigger contributions at times in games. So it's gone to Nicky Clee in the end. He'll be absolutely buzzing with that.
What was the stat you found out about him this season? He's done something exceptional.
It was something
Most
to
assists.
do most assists or something. I can't remember, to be honest, off the top of my head. I'll have a look at it and I'll tweet it out somewhere.
Whatever it is, it sounds great considering how poorly like Bradford's season seemed to go until, of course, the season got abandoned and they've scraped another year. But anyway, thank you, Tom. So our winner for that, Tom's winner for that was Nicky Clee. That moves us on from, we've just done our player of the season. However, we've got a nice little award here, not a little, but a nice alternative award here, which is the most underrated player of the season. Right, so underrated player of the season is pretty self-explanatory. It's for the player that may not have stood out like the player of the season did. Of course, Josh Wilson has the captaincy. He's got the goals. He's been Mr. Important, the go-to man when we've needed him. So, of course, he is going to stand out. And Greg Hartley, in the later part of the season, has been a big performer. However, we're talking about someone that has been consistent, that has always put his all into the game and has had a bit of quality when we've needed it, but hasn't quite been as noticed as the likes of Wilson. So, without much more description needed, Sean, have you got any nominees for this underrated player of the season?
Go on, I guess my first name off the list.
Is it Chris Rowney?
It's Chris Rowney. First one, I just think he puts so much effort into that midfield. He's almost like 2 players at times when he's running about. His work rate's outstanding. And he's one of those players that I really appreciate watching. But obviously, when you look at the score sheets and you don't see him on it very often, then it's hard to notice him. But yeah, he's my first one. Second one is, I think, Jake's player of the season nomination, Hunt. I think he's again consistent, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10s. He doesn't often drop a 10 out of 10 or score, but he's just always there, rarely makes a mistake, and we've relied on him a lot this season. And then my third nominee is Thompson. I think the amount of times this season that he's glued that front 3 together, and a lot of just the link-up play bounces off of him, and again, he just kind of fits in where we need him.
Thanks very much, Tom. Who are yours?
Mine are, of course, Chris Rowney.
There's
no denying that. Obviously, we love him. I think we see a lot of what the work that he does as well in games that some people kind of overlook. Second nomination, Nicky Clee, winner of the Tom Langford Man of the Match Award. Obviously, if you're winning that award, you've got to be putting in good performances consistently. I feel he performed at a time when we didn't really have many players that were up to that level. And then my final nomination is Michael Brewster, a little bit of a surprise one there. I feel a lot of his work especially has gone under the radar. I remember when he first signed, I mentioned it to Matt like off radio, and I was like, not sure about Michael Brewster. I'm not, I don't know what he brings to the team, but the more and more I've got to watch him, he's added a few important goals. Obviously, the Stafford goal is massive. That's a key highlight he's got. But then it's the work he's done in that midfield 3 that has become so prominent of Sheridan, Rowney and Brewster. He's kind of made it as well. Loves the yellow card as well, which kind of just adds a little bit more extra value to him. So they're my 3 nominations.
Yep, great. I can echo both your words with our underrated player of the season of Chris Rowney. He is being Mr. Consistent throughout. He's such a lovely lad to speak to.
Yeah.
He's just always there, like you said off air. I think it was where you said that he's got the most appearances.
Said it on air as well.
You said it on air as well. Yeah. So Chris Rowney he's just being always there. He hasn't scored like as much as maybe he would want to. I don't know, but that's not necessarily his job. His job is the workhorse in the middle of the park, and he does it so efficiently. Like Sean said, Liam Thompson, another workhorse, but just further up the field. Like Rowney, but more so it's important for him maybe to want to score more goals. He doesn't score as much as maybe he would want to, but he is he contributes so much to our attacking options because he never stops. I see him as like the Northern Premier Dirk Kuyt.
Wow!
Jesus.
He may not win the award, but he's won the comparison. And, And then finally, I've gone for John Pritchard. Bit of a different one. Like I said just a couple of minutes ago, you could argue our season of like optimism at least started in January once Clegg joined, and it just so happened that worked hand in hand with John Pritchard coming out of his long-term injury, and he's fitted into that left back position. Like you need something good to replace Nicky Clee after such a strong start to the season from him, and John Pritchard has done that leaps and bounds. It's like he's got so many assists coming back in. He's just the set piece master now, and we're just missing that free kick goal from him, really, aren't we?
How many times has he hit the crossbar?
Oh, I know. We want to whip that dance out one day.
We literally have the dancing gif ready from the start of the season. I reckon he's just not scored because of it.
Oh, it's just got in his head subconsciously. He knows what's going to come from it.
Yeah.
There's one constant there once again, so I think there's no doubt about
CR7.
CR7.
Season. The current CR7. Yeah, we thought it'd never happen. We laughed at you, Sean, when you said
You did laugh at me. I told you.
He's now CR7. Chris Rowney, congratulations. You are our underrated player of the season. That moves us on to another award. So, Chris, stay in your seats. We have another award, which is worst shot of the season. Right, our worst shot of the season is nothing derogatory to the player that we eventually award this to. It's just a bit of a laugh, so we apologise if we hurt anyone's feelings in this. However, I'll go first with my nominee for this season's shot of the season. Firstly, I'm going to nominate Chris Rowney's effort. I think it was against Warrington, I want to say. It was a second half strike, I believe, in that 1-0 win. And he was teed up on the edge of the box, and I believe he probably got it over the netting behind the goal. I think he was a bit disappointed with it. I remember tweeting about it, and I remember he wasn't very happy about the tweet about it afterwards. So I'm sorry to bring this up again, Chris, if you're watching. Secondly, not worst shot of the season. I'm going to twist it a bit, but that Witten game, Tom, I don't know if you remember being there, when Jordan Slew tried to pass the ball in the warm-up across the pitch. Don't know who it was to. And it went probably almost behind him, to which he then checked the ground to see if it was bobbling or something, and then did his lace up a bit gingerly. So that one would make my cut. And thirdly, to be honest, I don't actually have a third nominee because I felt that in the season, especially later on in the season, from January onwards, we've been quite clinical up front. And the chances that are clear cut, we have finished.
Yeah.
I seem to recall maybe there'll be a couple of shots that should have been shots, like a cross across the goal from Lefudu, where someone should have got a touch onto it, and they're being very close misses. But as it goes to worst shot of the season, I've got my one winner already, and I think I'm going to be joined in a second by the two of you. But I could be wrong. Tom, who are your three nominees, if you have them?
So I kind of went down a little bit of a similar theme to you. Obviously, Chris Rowney, master of long shots. There's a reason he's only got one goal this season that he didn't even mean. So yeah, Chris Rowney's up there. You know, deadly right and left foot on him. Second nomination, similar to you, Jordan Slew. He loved a slice effort, didn't he? Did our Jordan? It's what the Morecambe scouts saw in him, to be honest. He thought, that's a man who can clear a ball out the stadium.
When we're backs against the wall.
And then finally, I went for a little bit of a different one. Not a shot per se, but can you remember the Stafford game when they were warming up and they were booting the ball to each other?
Yeah.
They had the defensive line, you see it when teams warm up in training exercises where they have a defensive line and they kick the ball to the defensive line and they have to stay pretty rigid and head it out. They were awful. They were literally just lampooning the ball at each other, and it was just so off target.
They weren't practicing attacking, they were practicing defending, weren't they?
They were practicing, if this ball comes in this box, it goes. It wouldn't surprise me if Neil Warnock was giving him a pre-match talk, to be honest, the way they were clearing that ball. But
It just had to be the fact that we criticised them so much for that, and then they went and scored that worldie of a free kick.
That worldie of a free kick, yeah. But yeah, that's my third nomination.
Thanks, Tom. Sean, who are you?
Well, I'm going to start off with the Jordan Slew, the shot that we all got out of our seats for it, and it ended up. I think it went out for a throw. It curled that much. It went out for a throw. And then I'm going to give Chris Rowney, but I'm going to go for a different one. I can't remember the game, but it was a cross into the box. It gets headed out, and we all stand up and we go, "Oh, there's a long-range shot coming here on the volley." And I don't think he even shot. I think he cleared it out just for a goal kick. He just hit it so high in the air, it went looping, and it just ended up behind the net, and it was incredible.
Is that all your nominees? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just stick to the two.
All right, sound. So I mean, we've got it for different reasons, but we all have mentioned Chris Rowney.
I feel
we all have also mentioned Jordan Slew.
Yeah.
So it's a tight one. Maybe we should have a shoot-off or something. A
I don't think
crossbar
I'd want
challenge
to win
between the two of them.
Is it who scored more goals?
Well,
Jordan
the thing is, Jordan Slew has scored two, although Rowney had that goal nicked from him, didn't he, when Wilson got his hat-trick? So it's a tight one. You know what? Should we let them share it?
Yeah, they can. Like, one can have it in the
them.
week, one can have it on weekends.
That's it. A bit of custodial award.
Okay.
Like, it's going to be the pride of the living room, that at dinner parties.
Oh, I see you won a new award this season.
I got worst shot at season, lad. Look at that.
Only 5 days a week, though.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Jordan has it on the weekends.
Right, congratulations to Chris and to Jordan if you still watch the show.
Commiserations, really.
Yeah, commiserations.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That brings us on to our next award, which is signing of the season. All right, our signing of the season is very self-explanatory once again, because it is who we believe is the person that has come in this season, whatever point in the season, and has made the most difference throughout. We'll go with Tom first. I'll do the last one then. And then,
Okay.
What are your 3 nominees for signing of the season?
First one I've gone for is John Lafudu.
Yeah.
Joined us quite early on in the season. I think it was about September after we played Tadcaster in the FA Cup. He's been phenomenal. You know, his raw speed, it frightens defences. You know, there's a reason that a lot of clubs have kind of been looking at him. I feel potentially near the end, you know, his off-field antics, you know, maybe have hindered him from this award potentially.
Like his Achilles heel, yeah.
Yeah. But I think on the field, you know, there's no doubt. Anyone who watches him is like, my God, how quick is he? Yeah. You know, and
he's rapid.
He just unlocks defenses with his pace. And that 3-game spell where we didn't have him, you know, it was a massive blow, and you could just sense that we'd lost kind of one of our key attacking options in the side when he went. Number 2 I've gone for is Josh Wilson. Mm-hmm. Obviously mentioned top goal scorer. Statistic I found as well was that he scored 42.5% of all our goals this season, which is mad, isn't it? Yeah. So I feel anyone who's pretty much scoring nearly 50% of a team's goals has to be up there for signing of the season.
Especially on the first season.
Exactly. You know, he's played up front, at the back, midfield, wherever he's been asked, he's put a shift in. You know, people have said, you know, a lot of them were penalties. Still got to score a penalty.
Yeah,
literally.
You know, only missed one all season, but then he went and gone and put that in as well. A lot of times his goals have dragged us through games, and I think he's been a massive player on and off the field. Obviously, when Jody got sacked as well, stepped into the dugout. So I feel, you know, he has led this team pretty well, and for a first season, he's come in and really made it his own. Yeah. And final one, I've gone for is Greg Hartley. Only played 13 games in the end, but I feel he showed us what we've been missing all season in goal. Yeah. You know, the goalkeepers that we had at the start of the season, my God, were nowhere up to his level. You know, Greg, like, pretty much I could probably make a highlight reel out of Greg's saves from
one game.
From one game, yeah. Every single game. He's kept us in so many games, won us so many points with just fantastic saves.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a difficult position as well to come into a team that have struggled defensively and kind of reassure that. So yeah, he's been fantastic for me. So they're my 3 nominations.
All right, sound. Well, for me, I have done Josh Wilson because I feel like you've said, he was Mr. Reliable in every situation of the word because he has scored so many goals for the club. Greg Hartley is my second one. Now, differently to Josh Wilson, we may have awarded him Player of the Season because he has been Mr. Consistent. He scored the goals. He's got us to where we are. I think he was scoring the goals, but we were still in a bit of a rut before Greg Hartley signed. And I think Greg Hartley has made such a significant difference. He is more of a favourite for me because he was you can see the difference he has made, whereas Wilson's just been Mr. Reliable, and you can see why he's got Player of the Season. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
He has made that difference. Yeah.
Exactly. Finally, I said Michael Brewster because it's another player that was brought in when we needed someone, and he is really shored up the midfield because we've now got the deep line playmaker in Sheridan, the box-to-box in Rowney, and then Brewster's almost like a ball winning mid or something. He's just something a bit different. They've all got something they all do. It's almost like a play FM.
I was going to say
too much FM there, lad.
Yeah.
But it's they all offer something slightly different and you all see they all kind of complement each other because when one's forward, the others will drop back and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think Brewster's done well to suddenly just click with the 2 players in Rowney and Sheridan that have played together for the majority of the season. I know we've got 3. I've also put Michael Clegg for signing of the season.
Michael Clegg.
I mean, okay, yeah,
because you can't argue with that. He has been the signing of the season, but for many different reasons. Sean?
We'll start off with Greg Hartley as well. I put him in.
Yeah.
I think obviously we had George McMahon last season, and he was so consistent and he was so good. Then going into this season, as Tom says, we lacked that same kind of level, and it was clear we were going through different keepers, trying them out. And then when Greg signed, obviously amazing performances himself, and the whole defence in front of him just looked more assured and more confident with him behind him, and you can see why. Secondly, I went for Hunt. I think, again, for him to step in, he's been so consistent. Obviously, captaincy, took control of the side at times, and has put in some really good defensive performances. And then, of course, captain Josh Wilson, top scorer. What more is there to say, really?
So we've all mentioned Wilson and we've all mentioned Hartley.
Yeah.
What would you say? But okay, we'll go back to Tom. Who would you say would pip it out of the 2 of them?
I feel just Josh Wilson.
I
feel if Greg Hartley had potentially played 5 more games, he would have played roughly half a season for the club. Mm-hmm. But I feel because Josh Wilson has been so versatile, so important for us, like I mentioned, 42.5% of the goals, in your first season, he's pretty much done it on his own back. No one else has really supported him. So I feel for me, he has been our signing of the season. It's been a great bit of business by the club. He's brought a lot to the side in terms of his goals and just to the team morale as well. I think he's kept that dressing room together.
Yeah, definitely.
Agree with that, Sean?
Yeah, I think if a player wins Player of the Season and it's their first season at the club, then it's hard to disagree that they're not signing the season.
Right. So signing of the season, Josh Wilson. Honourable mention for Greg Hartley. Moving on. Game of the season is our next award. Right, like the other ones, game of the season, you know what that means. It's what our personal game of the season was. We will all provide 3 nominations once again. We'll start off with Sean, who isn't quite going to nominate.
I was going to say, not quite 3 nominations. I put all my eggs in one basket, and I've gone
but he's got a good one.
Yeah, the away game at Hyde. I think personally it was my first away game with Ashton, a bit of a local derby, and it was goals galore from the off. It was 3-3 in the end. And there was so many goals in the first 20 minutes, back and forth, entertaining stuff as a neutral and obviously as a media member. First time on commentary, and yeah, it was a really good game.
Tom, what are your 3 nominations?
I actually, when I'm told to get 3, I get 3.
Oh yeah.
So the best match of the season for me, I went for obviously Morpeth, the 4-1 away win. I think Jake, you'll agree it was just a special day and a special performance on the field as well. I think we forget that Greg Hartley made a penalty save in that game as well. That gets so overlooked. That was at 1-1, yeah. Like obviously it had the goals, it had the drama, you know, a long away trip as well. It was kind of a whole experience, that game, rather than just the match itself. Second for me is the 2-1 win over Stafford. The kind of the ignition, if you will, of Clegg's revolution at Ashton. You know, again, another game that had everything, you know. Two teams desperate for points. They score a worldie of a free kick on I think it was on the player's birthday as well.
It was, yeah.
And then obviously the goals that we scored, set piece, and then obviously Michael Brewster.
Cue the commentary.
If you drop back.
Yeah, that would be.
As the corner is crossed in, it's an in-swinger. It's It's a goal! I don't quite know. Is it Brewster? Is it? And it's Michael Brewster.
Michael Brewster. You know, it was, and you could see. I was watching like bits of different games back last night, kind of putting stuff together, and you could just see like just the pure joy on everyone's face when that goal goes in, because it meant so much, and there's so much relief after that game. And then my other one is the 4-0 win over Grantham back in October, I want to say. Yeah, I think it was October. 1st of October, I'm going to say. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But, you know, me, Matt, and Tom Gross travelled down to that one, not really expecting too much. We hadn't started the season great and kind of just rocked up and just annihilated them off the pitch. And we was like, blimey. It had class goals as well. Obviously, Connor Hughes was a goal that was overlooked. That was a fantastic goal. Sam Sheridan scored an absolutely of a worldie of a free kick. Shame Grantham, you know, have a terrible cameraman that couldn't pick it up. But, you know, as well, it was just like, it felt like that was the start for Jody to me. It was like just after the Tadcaster game where we just beat them 4-2. Seemed like he'd started to get stuff going. In the end, it did turn out that way, but at the time, it kind of felt that. And Jordan Slew's debut, so a win-win there.
Yeah.
So I could throw in as well. I said Hyde, but obviously there is better games in the season, but I wasn't there. So I've just gone from personally what the games I've seen.
And to be fair, for a neutral point of view, 3-3 sounds like a quality game.
Yeah, definitely.
It was a good game.
Yeah. I'm going to echo two of Tom's nominees. My first one is Stafford, which was, I think we've all got to agree that was the turning point in the season. It was finally like the win. It was a 6-pointer, which is kind of flattering to it as well, because it was so much more important than that. If we hadn't won that game, God knows what would have happened. I mean, the performances ever since would suggest we would have been fine. But it was just that kickstart we needed. It was, I think, was it 2 or 3 matches? Was it like the 3rd or 4th match under Clegg? It was really early on, because we had South Shields, then we had Stalybridge, I believe, and then I feel like it could have been there, or 4.
Yeah, it was the
FC, because we had FC as well.
And Baseford before that. So it was his 5th game, yeah.
But it was the first win, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it was a crucial game, and Stafford, like as we said earlier on, they seem to be preparing to defend from the start. So what better way to go in at half time, 1-0 up when they scored that, probably their goal of the season.
Yeah.
It would have been our goal of the season probably if it was our game. But so like it was one hell of a team talk. Whatever he said at half time, it worked, because we rallied and we played super in the second half. They didn't have a sniff. They couldn't deal with the long balls in the box, would you believe? Because we scored from 2 set pieces, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was a game to remember. And it was my first game, my only game in the end on main comms, which was an experience in itself, and I really enjoyed it. That goes on to another phenomenal game, away day of the year, because of the result. Solely the result was phenomenal. Beating Morpeth, who hadn't lost in a year, I think, at home. And then mighty old Ashton United rock up and
spoil the party.
Yeah, it was incredible, and we went 1-0 down, I believe, and then Sheridan to equalise with that rocket that won goal of the season, and then like you said, Hartley saved the penalty, and like it does go under the radar sometimes because there were some phenomenal goals in there. But yeah, we really clicked. The new signings under Clegg, like that he is assigned, really everyone's just gelled together in that game, and it just seemed like every time we went forward, we were going to score. So it was really good, and even Greg Hartley had his part to play. So that was a thorough team performance, and the travel itself was incredible. Coming back on the bus after winning 4-1 is a nice experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's got a big mention. And then finally, right, so like I've worked during the start of the season, and every game I seem to go to, we seem to struggle for like we couldn't score, let alone like get any points. Yeah, literally, we couldn't win. The only goals I saw live were the Stalybridge game, which we lost. And so, like, of course, I've seen like some, once again, honourable mentions of like Warrington and Lancaster, big teams in the playoff places and around there that we beat at home in the end of the season. But my third game of the season, you might raise your eyebrows to this, was the Stalybridge game. Because
what a reaction.
But yeah, no, my third game of the season, and I don't think it'll win my game of the season, but it's a mention.
Which one?
The 0-0 one.
Oh,
away.
Wow.
Yeah, the reason being, it was an away trip. It was my first away game, and I must admit, I was not very optimistic because I had not seen us get anything in the past like 5 to 10 games. So it just seemed like an away trip that was just going to be one where we'd have to like succumb to another defeat because Stalybridge were on form at the time.
Yeah.
But my word, the defensive like organisation in our team, and I think a mention in that game was Luca Havern, who had a phenomenal game. And to be honest, we could have nicked it at the end. Like, it was a really good performance, and we were just missing a goal. And it was just the experience of going to an away game and not coming away from it with a defeat. Like, it was really nice. And that was probably where, like, after the game, even Clegg said he was hoping for a draw, and that's what he's gone and got. Yeah. And it seemed like that's when we thought this plan's clicking into place.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think Stalybridge is going to make the cut.
He also said that he was bored after that game.
See, that's not what I'm saying.
Brilliant.
I'm not saying it for the entertainment. I'm saying it for the whole experience.
Yeah, I get you.
For a game of football, it was something that I hadn't experienced before, so that's why it makes the cut. A 0-0, a boring 0-0.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't know. Unless you want to argue with me here, I wasn't at the High game, but I'm going to say the Morpeth game is my game of the season.
I'm gonna go Morpeth.
Yeah, 2-1. Sorry, mate.
I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it.
If you were here, if you were there, you would.
Exactly. If I was at the Morpeth game, I'd probably keep it my vote, wouldn't I?
Yeah, exactly. That actually takes us quite nicely into our next award, which is Away Ground of the Season. Okay, so Away Ground of the Season is not so self-explanatory in the sense of just the result. It's the whole trip itself. It's the waking up, it's the travel, it's the stadium, it's the location, and the fans and the people you speak to there. But of course, the match itself will have a part to play in it. However, as we've already mentioned, Morpeth was our game of the season. It may not necessarily be that because we are taking everything into account. We'll start with you, Tom, because you have been to the most away games this season. Yeah. So you'll have a broad answer. Take it away.
So I've kind of gone a little bit different. Obviously, the whole experience we kind of like to talk about as well. First one out of the bat, obviously, is going to be Morpeth. Big long trip, obviously fun, enjoyable bus ride as well.
Yeah,
that always helps. I think as well, it always helps when we go to a ground and everyone there, like the other volunteers at other clubs, are really helpful with us. I know we had to kind of chase their media guy around at the end to try and get that footage, and everyone on the bus was like hating me on the way back because I'd gone and got the footage. But at least like they did give it to me in the end and was really nice and really considerate. And you come across some media teams, mentioning their names, that kind of you just think, God, you're a pain in the arse. But like you know, when people go that extra mile, because they realise, you know, we've travelled, what was it, like 3.5 hours. So when people do go that extra mile for you, you really appreciate it. I think as well, it was a nice ground. Like we mentioned, it was quite picturesque. Centre Parks, I think we said, pretty much compared it to on one of the shows, with like the tree line, you know.
Picturesque.
There was a few parts where it was dilapidated, like the away bench had a hole in the roof, but like, you know,
Character. It adds character.
Exactly, character. But overall, it was a fantastic day out as well. So that was my first one. Second on there, I've got Whitby. One of the most recent games we've been to. Yet again, good bus journey. Matt throwing up. That was quite funny. In
a garden centre.
In a garden centre, just so
Classic.
odd. Just honestly so odd. Some things that happen on away games. I think as well the ground was lovely. It was a really nice ground, really good like media facilities. A little bit cramped, but again, really friendly media guys. Always great to work with. Obviously, you as well spoke to, was it their chairman for like the majority of the first
he was sat
half?
next to me for the game.
Yeah.
So he was.
I feel like when you get a club like that where you can just have a chat with
them,
nice,
yeah.
Exactly. You know, it adds extra stuff. And third and final, I've gone for Baseford. No, of course, I couldn't go for Baseford. I've gone for Matlock. A little bit of a surprise one here. Again, really nice people to work with. It's a really nice ground as well. The game where we went down to Matlock was when we had all that, you know, when we had the really bad floods. Their grounds team pretty much got it, so it was like a playable surface. Because 24 hours, it was literally a swimming pool.
Yeah, like a lake, wasn't it?
You know, I packed armbands and a lilo for that game.
You were ready for that holiday?
Was this a cup game?
It was the FA Trophy game. We did lose in the end, which obviously wasn't great. But you know, they had like a nice bar, nice people, kind of nice stand, internet, which was like, oh, thank God. So that was kind of another
family were there as well, weren't they?
Yeah, my family were there as well, which was obviously nice for me. I don't get to see them often, so it was really nice to kind of experience an Ashton game with them as well.
Very nice. All right, well, for me, I have gone with Morpeth, like you have, because I don't think I need to say much more. Like, we've complimented it thoroughly because the whole experience was great. Probably the one drag of it was the amount we had to run after that guy at the end to try and get the footage, just because like they were waiting for us, and then the footage took about an hour in itself just to load up onto your computer. But the fact that that's the only negative just shows how all round it was such a good day. It was such a good day. I've then gone for Whitby as well because, like Morpeth, to be honest, both stadiums are incredible. Like they're so nicely located. Like Morpeth was surrounded by like really tall trees on 3 areas of the ground. Yeah, really tall.
Really tall, not just tall.
It was like it was in the middle
tall.
of a little forest, wasn't it? It was completely surrounded, and then Whitby was on the seaside. You could see the sea from where we were sat. Very windy, but it was a really nice game. The pitch, I think, was something that was criticised a bit because like it was a bit bobbly at times, wasn't it? But
bit is an understatement.
Yeah, but as a whole, Whitby was such a nice place to go to. Like you said, the chairman was sat next to me. We had a lovely conversation about things. He gave me the idea of the 50-50 raffle tickets, which I thought I had created Ashton United, only to be told they are already in situ. But it was a really nice experience. And finally, I've gone for Witton because it was the like I said, Stalybridge was like the best game of the season because of the experience and stuff. But it was, I think, Witton I preferred because of it's a weird one to explain really, but for the whole experience of it, like Matt took us, we drove with him.
Went to the pub.
Went to the pub. And then like the game itself, it was a horrible way to leave the game, like in the last minute defeat. But we saw miss of the season.
Yeah,
we did see miss of the season for them when they rounded the keeper and hit the crossbar. But it was a good experience. I saw someone that I used to work for as well at Tranmere, and like, I wish I could say we clicked again, but anyway. But
The
it was just
bromance
nice
was gone.
Yeah, it was nice to see him. Yeah, and it was like a nice way to. And we left there with a saying because the place stunk of egg and cress, didn't it?
Oh, it really did.
What an
Rock-
interesting
Rocked
interesting
up
set
and
that is.
stunk.
Was
of
it
egg.
was it in a quarry?
It was like in an industrial area, and it was
Oh,
like
it's do smell of egg and
dilapidated.
cress, apparently, to be fair.
We got
Yeah,
out of the car and it was just egg and cress.
it just was like, reeks of egg and cress.
But it was a nice nice away day.
Yeah.
However, I am more towards saying Morpeth or Whitby.
Yeah.
What are you saying, Sean?
So I'm a bit hampered because I've obviously only been on 2 away days.
Prolific traveller.
Yeah, big one. Hyde and Buxton. Buxton from the off just seemed a bit hostile. Like, yeah, it just wasn't great. Obviously, there was fan trouble, which kind of like shrouded the actual game.
What happened?
There was just a bit of a like conflict. Apparently, someone thrown a flare into
A
another set of
girl's
fans.
face.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it hit a girl, and then it kicked off
Oh,
towards the end. There was
yeah.
about 12 minutes at a time at the end of that game
Wow.
because like all the players were running in and everything. It got a bit heated, didn't it?
Mm.
So I guess that adds to the excitement, but not really what you want in a football game. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's got to be Hyde. Entertaining game, nice little local derby. It was a nice ground, to be fair.
Mm.
So yeah.
Awful town centre though.
Yeah, no, not so good in the town centre.
Cold Greggs.
Stinking.
Like, come on, Hyde. Calm your Greggs up.
Your Greg's game, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's just given me a really good one for the next one, but we'll move on to that in a minute. I'm going to let you decide, Tom, because I believe you're going to choose between Morpeth and something else, maybe Whitby.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed Whitby, but
I feel
leave it to you.
it's just got to be Morpeth, hasn't it, mate? To be honest.
Yeah.
Like, it won game of the season. You know, there was everything round it. It was a really nice like away game to go to. I had to get up early, but it was worth it. And then obviously party bus on the way back.
It
You know,
was
some
party bus,
some
yeah.
people had one too many, but you know. But like it was
Yeah.
just a really good day, really good people. It was a nice little ground. Like you could see that they were trying to make improvements to it as
And
well.
tall
So
trees.
tall trees,
Very
good
small
win.
teams, oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go Morpeth.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I'm
Yeah.
sure Sean would have he was there too.
If I was there.
Right, great. So for our final award of this little award ceremony, we have got our personal moment of the season. So because it's our personal moment of the season, it's very much down to what we believe ourselves, having experienced it. But maybe some of you fans or players or staff or whoever's watching will be able to relate to what we say. Tom, we'll go to you first. What were your moments of the season?
I'm gonna start in I'll do it in chronological order. First moment of the season for me was when I had the opportunity to go and film with Sterling and Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've got to just thank Jonathan and David for that opportunity. Like, it's massive. Got so much out of that experience that I just can't thank them enough for it. And I feel every day like how lucky I am to be even given that opportunity. So for me, that was the first like kind of big moment for me. Well, not first big moment at Ashton, but like one of the biggest moments of my career. Yeah, and it was just a really nice, and I can't thank them enough for the opportunity that they gave me to go and do that.
Mm-hmm.
Second moment has to be starting the show. Like I feel like
You.
yeah, no, you. No, I feel like, you know, we kind of before had like we were pretty much doing what most normal clubs at this level do. We were doing highlights, interviews, radio commentary, and I feel like we wanted to take it to that next level. And
We talk about the club enough anyway. Like we
Exactly.
chat and
we chat so much at back at the flat. Obviously, we're not there anymore. Well, two of us aren't, but one's trapped.
It's just me.
It's just you. But like we talk about it so much, and it kind of made sense that we put this show together. You know, it works for us. It gives us experience and kind of gives back to the fans as well. Gives them a voice and a show that they can enjoy. And it's just been a great experience that I feel we've all enjoyed.
definitely.
Yeah.
And then third and final moment of the season for me has to be running the line
Yeah.
Like, it still baffles me that has happened.
Yeah,
Like,
no, it's good.
I wish I'd never told anyone at the club that I'm a qualified official. Let's put it that way.
All eyes pointed straight towards you. When
Literally, all I saw was as soon as he went down was just a slow turn to the commentary.
Towards the country, yeah.
But yeah, it was at the moment of doing it, I was really nervous.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
Would you do it again?
Oh yeah. I enjoyed
Exactly.
it. I enjoyed it in the end, but I was so nervous. Like I was chasing for large parts of the game John Lafudu, like trying to keep up with him, and I'm like, plumbing heck,
You're an
John.
athlete. It'll be fine. Look at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, at least nothing from five-a-side happened.
I forgot.
You didn't fall over, right?
Five-a-side, yeah. That would be an honourable mention. But yeah, they're my 3 moments for me, and hopefully we can make many more at this club.
Yeah, right. For me, five-a-side is in there, like because it was we created our team. Was it FC Rowney we called it?
It was FC Rowney, yeah.
FC Rowney,
Yeah,
for Manchester Pride, there was a football competition, like a little tournament. I don't know how we got into it, to be honest. Was it Kat that did it?
Kat, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much to Kat, because she created it and not created it, but got us involved in it and was our manager for the day. And we surprised ourselves, to be honest, because the 3 of us all played.
Massively.
We had a couple more that played. So thank you to everyone that contributed to that. And yeah, no, we were practicing like Stafford were, weren't we? And beforehand, and then we ended up getting to the semi-finals, so we did quite well. But no,
it was just...
Yeah, it was that ref, honestly.
Yeah.
What a joke.
Yeah, no, it was a bit of a weapon, but yeah, my next one was my first interview I did, and that was with Josh Wilson. It was actually for one of my assignments I had in university, and he was just so talkative, so helpful. Like, it's so easy to speak to, and like when you're doing your first interview, because I've never done anything like this before, to have someone as easy to speak to as Josh, it really did set me straight and like make me a lot more confident to speaking to anyone now. I'd even pull John Hunt for a chat now. I know.
Try Jordan Slee, mate.
Yeah, no, that was really, and it was a good experience as well to be on there, and it worked really well for me as well away from Ashton. I've got 2 for an end thing, because of course being like doing the commentary was incredible, like for Stafford, and I really enjoyed doing that. However, I've been criticised by my co-com a couple of times for the way I didn't let anyone else talk. So there's room for improvement, but it's a first time for Everton, and I hope to do that again. But I think my favourite time was just like you said with the show, like the way that we have been very creative in how we've like emphasised the social media platforms with Ashton United. We've created the show, and also the spontaneous trip out for the free ticket for Hyde. As much as the Hyde game didn't go on, it was really enjoyable just going out and trying to speak to people, and thankfully we got a couple of people to speak to us. It was a shame that the majority of people weren't keen, or were Curzon Ashton fans. I feel like that might have just been a decoy, just like, yeah, I support Curzon, I promise.
Yeah.
But it was a really good experience, and it just shows that we've got that creative side to us, which hopefully will only improve next season.
Definitely.
Sean, what have you got for your moments?
I've got a number, to be fair. Like, I forgot about the 5-a-side, so that definitely deserves a shout out, because that was really fun. And then one that I want to throw out is that my first interview, which was Luca Havern, but we also had, I think, Connor Hughes and Chris Rowney on that day. I did it with you, Tom, didn't I?
Yeah.
And that whole day of just camera work, interviewing. One of my first days at the club, so like going around the ground, the dressing room, that was really nice. Just to chat some of the staff members and the new players, and to do my first interview, obviously. It's a big shout from me. That was really nice. Secondly, Tom Langford, linesman, I've got written down. I wasn't there, which is absolutely gutting, but even seeing it on Twitter almost made it better, because I had to like double take on my phone. I was like, there's no way that he's on the pitch.
Did you get called by Matt? Did Matt call you?
No, I didn't.
Jake. He was like, Jake. You've got to tune into the Twitter.
No, yeah, I saw it on Twitter because I've got it on notifications, and then I was like, oh my goodness. So yeah, that's definitely deserves a shout. And then finally is the first time I met Clegg. Obviously, the whole of January, you guys were alone because I was at home, and you'd bigged him up so much, and I'd seen other results on Twitter, and heard really good things. So the first time meeting him was just quite like personal, really. Like I had a good chat with him, did some keepy ups after a game that we'd won, and it was just really nice and personal to meet him and chat with him.
Great. I think that we don't need one winner there. We've all got our personal moments.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do too, watching. So thank you very much for watching. And this has been our Robins Roundup. Hopefully we'll come back with another maybe short video on some other things as that we can think of, even when.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been our award ceremony. We hope you've enjoyed. So from me, Tom and Sean, goodbye for now.